Okay, hello, my friends. My name is Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide context in the war in Ukraine. Now, President Trump was just elected, and what's important next is who his advisors are and who his cabinet will be. So, we want to watch for a couple of things, and I'll try to unpack them here. So, the first thing I want to talk about is this. I think this is one of the few places where Dmitry Peskov was actually telling the truth. Putin spokesperson Trump is less predictable than Biden. Accordingly, he is also less predictable in fulfilling his campaign statements. So we don't know exactly what he's going to do or how he's going to do it. Now, he's been floating some trial balloons about, well, what if there was this barrier, or what if there was this giveaway of this land, or all kinds of different things. Those are all non starters. For a number of reasons, but they're trial balloons just to get a feel of what's out there. I don't think it'll be a big land giveaway. This is just my estimation from what I can see here. And I've been very encouraged by what I've seen from Trump, but there is a downside, and I'm going to show you the downside here in this video. So the first one was, for example, Brian Lanza, a Republican Party strategist, told the BBC in an interview that Trump administration will ask Volodymyr Zelensky for his version of a realistic vision for peace. And if President Zelensky comes to the table and says, well, we can only have peace if we have Crimea, he shows to us that he's not serious, said Brian Lanza. Crimea is gone. Okay, this is Brian Lanza. He's not anybody really significant. He was a consultant working with them, and he was tied to the campaign somehow, but he was real low on a totem pole. The Trump team, this is according to the Euromaidan press, the Trump team has disavowed this advisor's stance on Ukrainian territorial concessions for peace. And that's according to Reuters, as carried in the Euromaidan press. So that's not happening. So you can set that one aside. Now, The Economist magazine is right. Many Ukrainian officials privately favored a Trump win, seeing him as preferable to Biden's self-deterrence. Now, I understand Kamala would be taking the role rather than Biden after this election, but would we be getting more of the same thing? Whether they're right, I don't know, but one thing is clear, Trump will push a solution on Kyiv, like it or not. That is coming down the pike. Now, he also said two other things that are really important. First, Zelensky quickly endorsed Trump's victory, frustrated with Biden's delays in aid and restrictions in long-range missile use. And then second, and this one's really important, because there's kind of warring visions for how things should go. And The Economist talks about two possible Trump peace plans. And the truth will be somewhere different than either of these, I think. The Vance plan, freeze the conflict on current lines, force Ukrainian neutrality, that's a non-starter. Ukraine will keep fighting without the U.S. if necessary and just keep going. And that'll give the U.S. a black eye, and that's not a viable plan. Second, the Pompeo plan, which was enhanced military support, potential NATO membership, and I talked about that some time ago, and we'll look at that in just a moment. But then you have problems like this. David Sachs is on a personal crusade to block Mike Pompeo from re-entering government service exclusively because Pompeo is pro-Ukraine. So David Sachs is very pro-Russia, very anti-Ukraine. So there's the difference. Now, I want to highlight here there's a policy reason. That's why he's being blocked here. But there's more to that story. David Sachs tweeted this just 2 months ago while President Trump campaigned on the need to negotiate peace in Ukraine. Mike Pompeo stubbornly argued for escalating the war. Pompeo insists on NATO expansion that provoked the war. No, it didn't provoke the war, but this is part of Putin's how he talks about it. He's dangerously out of step with President Trump's views. Now, he might be slightly out of step with Trump's views, but there's more to it than that. And this was back in July when Pompeo gave this peace plan. I talked about this at outlined it for you, and I got a lot of attacks for this, for outlining Pompeo's plan by others who were saying, that's not going to happen. That this couldn't possibly be. But it was a viable plan being put forward. And here's Mike Pompeo. Now, Trump has ruled out Pompeo and his $500 billion Ukraine peace plan from the cabinet. This was a lend-lease kind of plan, $500 billion lend-lease for Ukraine with NATO and EU membership support, but excluded the return of occupied territories. Okay, so this is it was somewhat agnostic about some things, but it didn't talk about you have to do this. It was more of a here's how to ratchet up the fight against Russia rather than a let's declare peace right now. Okay, but Trump has an issue with Pompeo personally above and beyond the policy issues. So here's Julia Davis saying Pompeo's bid to become the nation's chief defense ran into heated opposition from close allies of the former president, including his son, Donald Trump Jr., and right-wing commentator and former Fox News host Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is going to have issues with Pompeo for policy reasons, but Trump has issues with Pompeo for different reasons, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Here's David Sachs again. The smart people know that the Ukraine war is a grift, and they are in on it. The dumb people think it's about democracy, even though the vast majority of Crimea and Donbass are ethnic Russians and want to go with Russia, really, by force. Here's how you can tell if they really want it or not. If you lifted all the walls, like if you lifted all the gates and you said took the arms holders away, and you said, okay, you can choose where you want to go. Do you want to go to Russia? Do you want to stay here in Donbass? Do you want to go to Ukraine? Just watch the way that people would flow one way or another, and that can tell you everything that you need to know about how that would work. Ben Hodges replied, and the really dumb people think it's just about Ukraine. This is about protecting Europe, our largest trading partner, isolating Iran, and deterring China. Spot on. Okay, but Trump doesn't like Pompeo or Haley. He thinks that they are personally disloyal to him, and he has a grudge, and he's going to hold this grudge. So neither Haley nor Pompeo will be joining the administration. Quote, I will not be inviting former Ambassador Nikki Haley or former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to join the Trump administration, which is currently in formation. I very much enjoyed and appreciated working with them previously, and I would like to thank them for their service to our country. Make America great again. Okay, so there's the policy side, and then there's the personal side, and Pompeo's out because of both. So here are possible Trump administration officials. So Chief of Staff is going to go to Susie Wiles. She was Trump's campaign manager, and she did a pretty good job in getting him across the line, as evidenced by winning all 7 swing states. That just came out just earlier today. Attorney General, very MAGA Trump friend Paxton, who was impeached and beat the impeachment charges in Texas. Then very MAGA Utah Senator Mike Lee, who he's going to be very MAGA. John Radcliffe, he's the one that I would look toward. Like John Radcliffe, actually, he's a former Texas congressman. He tried to warn staffers against trying to undermine the 2020 election. So like he would be the guy that I would think would be the best slot here, but we'll see. Senator Marco Rubio was saying like we gotta, we admire the Ukrainian people, but we've got to end this. So he might not be the best case for Secretary of State. We just don't know. Grinnell is a close Trump loyalist. Haggerty is also very loyal. And loyalty here, like if you look down the line, loyalty is very prized by Trump. On Defense Secretary, Pompeo is out, so we can cross him out. Tom Cotton might be, I don't know, but I would look toward Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz is a former Green Beret and will probably have the most hawkish view that still sits well with Trump. And then there's others like Doug Burnham, who is a good friend and loyalist to Trump throughout the campaign. Robert F. Kennedy is being considered for who knows what. Elon Musk for who knows what. But the key thing here is loyalty to Trump, and that's what you'll look for. Okay, so here's another that would be excellent in the cabinet. I don't know. I saw in another list that his name was mentioned. Mike Rogers, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. He is very much a friend of Ukraine, but he might, and I don't think he seems disloyal to Trump, but the policy side might push him out. Donald Trump Jr. is going to have the most sway, just being Trump's son. Trump trusts Donald Jr. He trusts Ivanka. So it's that sort of thing. he just the trust there is the issue. Donald Trump Jr. has doubled down on his father's campaign pledge to cut funding for Ukraine in its war effort against Russia. So that's the policy side. And I think that's, like Trump Jr. just posted this thing this morning. Point of view, you're losing 38 days, or you're 38 days from losing your allowance. I'm not exactly sure why 38 days was there. That puts us in mid-December before Christmas. But it's actually like mid-January when January 20th when things change. But not a cool meme to be putting out on Twitter. And then finally, we'll end with this. I think there's still hope. Um, I'm far more optimistic than I was this time last week about what Trump might or might not do based on everything that I've seen and read and whatever. But there are real obstacles. But here, listen to this. A loss of Ukraine to Russia would be seen at home and abroad as a defeat for the United States and Trump by extension. And Trump will never want that to be seen that way. So while he's wanting to talk about a peace deal, I don't think he's willing to let Russia run roughshod back over Ukraine and be a loss for both Ukraine and the world, and by extension, Donald Trump. Okay, that's my analysis, but look closely for who is advising him and then who he fills the cabinet with, and it'll tell you a lot about where this administration is going to be going. Put your comments below. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.